Hey, what's up, fight fans? Will back once again for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 114 from Mexico City in Mexico as Sergio Pettis faces off against Brandon Moreno in the main event there. That's a main event I'm really actually looking forward to. A very interesting matchup. Randa Markos, Grasso as the co-main event. First and foremost, what I want to do is just thank everybody again for the support. It's always awesome. But I did speak on, I think it was the Google Hangout that I did, that I have a podcast coming. And at the weekend there, we finally announced the name of our podcast and what it's going to be and who I'm going to be doing it with. The name of my podcast is going to be the MMA Huddle. And it's going to be just like a weekly thing talking about fights, upcoming fights, anything to do with MMA across a majority of organisations. I'm going to be doing it with my good friend John Ferguson from MMA, from John and Mike's MMA Corner. As a dude I've known for a few years. We go to events together. Really, really good guy who's like myself, watches a lot of fights across all organisations. And if you've been around me for as long as you have, or even the new guys, I've been wanting to do a podcast for the last few years at least, and it was just finding ways how to do it. John is a lot better in kind of editing stuff and all that jazz, and I'm just good at pretty much talking fights, and I've got a good following because of you guys and the support you've shown me, that I'm hoping we can just put everything together and it's just going to be a successful mesh of both of us together, and it makes for a good partnership going forward. And it's just, me and John are just fans that you guys will answer any questions you guys have. We have a Twitter page which I'll leave a link to in the bottom, Facebook, Instagram. I think we're going to have a YouTube page where we're probably going to do Google Hangouts, talking with you guys. We're probably going to do fighter interviews probably monthly or so on. So any questions you guys want to ask certain fighters that we're going to be talking to, that's basically what we're going to be doing. So if you can come and support us, it's at MMA Huddle on Twitter, but I will leave a link in the description box there. Second thing I'm going to get to, encountered a little bit of hostility kind of over the weekend. A lot of people attacking me over my bets and this and picks and so on. I will openly admit, since my little ones came, and even before that, about probably the last maybe 3 months even, my picks I think have gotten a little bit worse, and I have got a few wrong, which I don't think at the start of the year I would have got wrong, but it's just my opinions on the picks. To have certain people, I'm not a capper, I'm really not a capper, so don't come and attack me if my record in betting's not great. I'm not a big better. I openly admit I'm not a great better. But I do like doing it. I like betting on fights. I like playing on DraftKings. I'm just an all-around MMA fan. I win some bets, I lose some bets, and I'm very lucky in this position where I can put a decent amount of money on bets. But I have tailed that back a little bit with me losing over the last few months. Don't take my bets. Go with your own gut feeling. Don't listen to me. It's nice that you asked me for my opinion and so on, but don't take my word as gospel, because it's the farthest thing from the truth. I'm, like I say many times, I'm just a fan who has a platform to put it out there. A lot of other people have the same, but they don't put it out there. So I know I'm there to be fired at if I get certain things wrong. But at the end of the day, I'm just a fan who likes watching fights and talking fights. So no negativity please send my way, because there's no place for negativity in my life. My life isn't the best place it's ever been with this. You guys are supporting me wholeheartedly with that, which is brilliant. My little baby girl is the blessing of my life. I've got a new venture starting, so no negativity, just positivity, people. There's too much negativity in the world, so just stop with that shit. So overall, the card's fairly decent. Good fights there. I like the flyweight fights especially scattered throughout, and we'll get into them. I'm not going to try and take too much of your time, but I say that every time and I end up taking about 35 to 40 minutes of your time. So starting off in the lightweight division, Alvaro Herrera against Jordan Rinaldi. Both guys coming off losses. Alvaro Herrera coming off that Bravo choke to Vicente Luque, where Luque I think is a few levels above that guy. Jordan Rinaldi on the other hand is coming off a unanimous decision loss to Abel Trujillo. Another thing for this card, it is in Mexico, so elevation is a huge thing. Guys are going to gas out bad, so that's something you have to take into consideration in a few of these fights. But Alvaro Herrera, I think he's low level lightweight in the UFC. I think if he lost this fight, well, I don't think we'd see him kept around. He's really just a a piece for this kind of market, your Texas, Mexico market, down in the south of United States into Mexico. And I just don't think he's very well rounded. He comes out trying to strike. I don't think he's overly a great striker. Don't think he's overly technical. Jordan Rinaldi, I think, on the other hand, he has faced some good guys outside the UFC, like your Brian Ortiz and so on. So he's fought decent guys, and I think his experience over those fights in other organisations, fighting tough guys, I think that he has more tools to use in this fight, and I think he will use them. I think it could get a bit scrappy if it goes towards the end. I think if the fight also goes to the ground, I think Rinaldi has an opportunity to submit the guy there. So that's where I'm going to look for this fight to finish. I'm going to look for Jordan Rinaldi, maybe late second round. My pick's going to be early third round submission for Jordan Rinaldi in the opener of this card here. Flyweight fight. This is one of the best fights on the card, and a matchup when I seen get put together a few short weeks ago I was really surprised about. Joseph Bopo Morales against Roberto Sanchez, Little Fury Sanchez, I think it is. I could be wrong with that name. But both guys I've been watching for a few years. You know, I'm a fan of Team Alpha Male, so they've got fighters coming out left, right and centre. And Roberto Sanchez fought in the LFA, was the Legacy champion. And it's just an overall really solid fighter. And when I heard when this match was getting put together, I was really surprised because, say, Joseph Morales was on the Dana White fighter looking for a star show, and Sanchez come up through there. I thought they would have kept them. I didn't think they put them together in the fight. I think that's maybe a Mick Maynard putting them together, the former matchmaker and now the matchmaker in the UFC, putting this together. It's a great fight, a really fun fight. I was watching all the fights of Joseph Morales yesterday and some of Roberto Sanchez, and this is going to be close, very, very close. I've been going back and forward on my pick. Was surprised when the odds came out and I seen that Joseph Morales was the underdog. I thought he would have definitely been the favourite due to the Team Alpha Male stuff and all that jazz, because it seems to be the case when that happens. But Roberto Sanchez was the favourite. Where I see this fight going, I think on the feet Morales is a little bit better. He's a little bit faster, a little bit crisper. Better footwork, more angles. Sanchez is really plodding forward, just throwing a couple of jabs out there, looking to get you against the fence and take the fight to his kind of wheelhouse, which is down in the bottom. Can fight very dirty in the clinch, can Sanchez, but he's looking to drop down, get a single leg, get you to the ground, and once he gets you there, I think this guy's a snake handler. I think I remember reading that somewhere, or he breeds snakes or something, so he's quite slippery on the ground, and very, very good on the ground. If he gets you in the body triangle, he really knows how to really adjust that and kind of take the breath away from you, and just look for positions where he can find a submission, and he finds them against guys who they were saying they were better him in the ground. I don't think that. I think he's really, really good down there. If this goes to the ground, it'll be interesting to see who is the better guy. I think Sanchez personally. I think Morales is better on the feet. Overall, I'm going to go with Roberto Sanchez. I was going to go with Morales when I first had the matchup, but after watching tape, I feel more confident in picking Roberto Sanchez. I think his skills on the ground are going to be really, really big for him in this fight, and I think he can keep it there and win a very close 29-28 decision there. Jose Quinonez against Diego Rivas. I actually like Quinonez in this one. I think his output, I think he's got actually a better fight IQ. I think that Rivas is the more athletic fighter. Will throw a lot of funky shit, like flying knee like he did in his last fight. We haven't seen him in well over a year. But I like Quinonez's toughness. I liked his last fight against Joey Gomez. Now, I know Joey Gomez is pretty low level. Nothing much stands out with Joey Gomez except for his aggression and that. But Quinonez used really good fight IQ, took the fight to the ground on, I think he secured 4 or 5 takedowns in that fight, and he advanced position quite well too, outstruck Joey Gomez, and that's where I think this fight, he'll want to look to take this fight. I think he'll want to keep it competitive on the feet, but I think he should try and mix it up and take it to the ground. So interesting, Rivas is coming off that layoff, coming into Mexico, elevation. Quinonez does have a really solid gas tank, keeps going forward, and just, I think he'll steal rounds. I really do. I think as long as he doesn't fall into the trap of getting caught with something funky that Rivas is going to throw. I think that Quinonez can win a decision here, and that's where I'm going. I'm going to go Jose Alberto Quinonez, Teco Quinonez to win via decision. Henry Briones against Rani Yahya. Now this is the fight. I just literally looked at the lines for this one. I don't know how much I'm going to be betting on it this week, but this might be an underdog I might actually play. Henry Briones is a guy I really like in this fight. Now I know he's pretty low level. He was fighting Douglas de Silva de Andrade pretty well before getting caught and taken out with a spinning back fist. Probably winning that fight in all honesty. I think he's the tougher guy here. Rani Yahya is a guy I just don't think I can pick anymore. Very good in the ground, very good control, very good technique, but gas is really bad. I mean, like really, really bad. And coming into a place like Mexico City here, at higher elevation, he is going to be in deep shit. Probably towards the end of the first round if it's still in there. Now, how I see this fight going, I see Rani Yahya winning the first round. I can see him probably securing a takedown. But then 2 and 3, I can see Henry Briones really coming into his own and just putting on a great output on the feet and really hurting Yahya and potentially stopping him in this fight. That was a big thing when I looked at it. It was just a big red flag from Rani Yahya. Just the gas tank, terrible. Fling shots is wide open. Now, Briones isn't the most technical striker, but he does crack. So if he hits you with a shot, he will put you down. I think Joe Soto will put him down as well. I like Henry Briones in this one. I think he can stop Rani Yahya. Now, Yahya is tough, and in his last fight, he wanted to test his striking, and it's not on the par of what his ground game is and his control on the ground. If Yahya can't get this fight to the ground, which I don't think he can later on in the fight, I think that Briones is really going to put a beating on him. So I like Henry Briones. I think he can possibly get a finish in this one. I'm going to pick him via finish. Early third round finish for Henry Briones there. Another interesting flyweight fight. Dustin Ortiz against Hector Sandoval. Was originally when I heard this matchup, I thought Sandoval. Really, he's just a solid flyweight, solid overall fighter. Coming off the wins over Matt Schnell. I forget who the other one was. Was it maybe Joey? No, it wasn't Joey Gomez. Was it Joby Sanchez maybe? I watched that fight earlier on. I totally forgot. Oh, Freddie Serrano. Yeah. So yeah, against Freddie Serrano, and he stopped Matt Schnell last time out. Just those Team Alpha Male guys are strong, really, really strong across all aspects of their game. But Dustin Ortiz, in my opinion, is just a well-rounded flyweight with a lot of pressure, a lot of control, and that's where I see this fight. I think it's going to be close, don't get me wrong, but I think this is going to be one of those grinding performances from Dustin Ortiz in this one to take the win. In that fight with Brandon Moreno, who I'll talk about later on the card, he was doing very, very well. He was controlling it. If he gets his hands on you, he's gonna control you for majority of the rounds. He can take you down, and this is kind of where I see that is, can Sandoval stop that consistently for 15 minutes? I don't see that, but I do see Sandoval maybe possibly winning a round as well. So a little bit back and forward in this. I think on the feet, Sandoval's probably a little bit quicker. Ortiz kind of throws more high kicks, more low kicks, which I do think he has. He doesn't use them enough, in my opinion. I think he has really good low kicks, but he's left Rufus Sport. He probably doesn't train them as much as he does when he was at Rufus Sport. I think that Dustin Ortiz is superior. Just his experience in this one is going to really help him out, and I think he's going to win decision. So Dustin Ortiz via decision. Middleweight. This is a weird fight to put on in Mexico. Brad Scott against Jack Hermanson. 2 Euro guys, considering there's a European card in a month's time, that could have easily been on that Rotterdam card, but they decided to put it in Mexico, which is a weird one. Brad Scott against Jack Hermanson. Like Jack Hermanson in this one, I think the odds reflect that. When I just had a quick peek there, really liked his finish over Alex Nicholson. He really put it together well in that fight and beat a tough guy. I mean, Nicholson's not great to watch, but and he doesn't really stand out in many aspects, but he's tough. Jack Hermanson put him to the sword and put him away in the first round. So Brad Scott coming off that very close split decision victory over Scott Askham back in London, which I think I gave Scott Askham the fight in all honesty, but it was close, and in those close fights it can go either way. You can't complain depending if you're betting on the guys. Yeah, I thought pretty much Scott Askham just did a little bit more. I think he outstruck him. I think he got a takedown in that fight as well. I think Jack Hermansson is just a little bit too good. I think he's a little bit. I think he's longer as well, so I think he's going to use that and just pick at him. And then eventually, wherever this fight goes, Brad Scott is very, very tough. I don't see him being finished. No, in fact, I do see him being finished. I do. I think Jack Hermansson is a really good output. Don't know what I was thinking there. He's a really good output, and I think he, honestly, and even in the elevation, I think he can go hard for 15 minutes, and I don't think Brad Scott can do that. So I'm going to pick Jack Hermansson. I'm going to pick him via a second round submission. I think I'm going to pick him by. Take him to the ground, if not heavy ground and pound. It's going to be, I like a finish kind of late in round number 2 there for Jack the Joker Hermansson. So that's my picks there for the Fight Pass portion, the prelim portion. Now moving on to the main card, which as main cards go, it's pretty weak in all honesty. This is the card, I watch every card if I can, but I think this one I might actually go to sleep and wake up very early on Sunday morning and watch this instead of staying up till 6 AM, because outside the main event, I don't think, maybe I quite like the co-main event as well, but outside that it's not great. And Fox, the FS1, like the timing of it just lasts, it goes on and on and on, so I'll wait and see when I get there to the weekend. But in the first fight in the main card, we have Alejandro Perez against Andre Soukhamthath. Not a matchup. When I looked at the tape, I thought I wasn't really too clear on who was going to win. I kind of went back and forward on it a little bit. Gut feeling was Alejandro Perez. So Soukhamthath, I think he's the more athletic guy. Very tough guy. He lost to Albert Morales in his last fight in the UFC, so he's got that UFC jitters out of the way. So he needs to try and come in here, and he's going into the Lions Den down in Mexico to face Perez and look for the win there. Perez coming off that loss last time out to the draw, with Albert Morales. I thought he lost that fight, that's why I was thinking he lost, but he beat Ian Entwistle before that. He beat Scott Jorgensen, who was injured in that one. But he has, like Patrick Williamson, we know what that guy's like in the first round. He can catch you. We've seen that with Dukenwa when he kind of hurt him up for the first round. As long as he doesn't get caught early, I think that he's just got a little bit too much for Andre Soukhamthath. I think his output is a little bit better. I think he can mix it up a little bit better. I do think the better striker is Soukhamthath, training with Henry Hoof. I think that with Hoof in his corner, if he's going to be in Mexico, I think he's just a little bit too technical for Perez. But I think the all-around game of Perez is better than Soukhamthath. I think he will mix it up with takedowns. I think that on the ground he is definitely a level, well, I shouldn't really say level above because he really hasn't shown it, but I think that he can outwork Soukhamthath down on the ground and win rounds through that. So not a confident pick in the slightest. It will be my least confident picks here, but the pick's going to be Alejandro Perez via decision. Sam Alvey against Rashad Evans. Weird, rough fight to watch tape on. I think that Rashad Evans, now, I said on Twitter last week, I think a lot of people in the MMA community use decline too often in their words. I've used it a few times as well, so I shouldn't be saying that. But I think that Rashad Evans is literally at the door of retirement. I don't see why he's fighting guys like Dan Kelly, Sam Alvey. He can walk away, can go work in the booth at Fox. I think he's a really good guy to have on the booth there. But these guys are still fighting, so this was a tough fight. The winner of this fight is going to be in the least confident picks there. Rashad Evans, in my opinion, I think he's done. I don't think he's got a hell of a lot left. Sam Alvey lost last time out to Talis Leites, sorry. He's against Rashad. But, I mean, he doesn't really... The one thing with Sam Alvey is he's tough. Outside that, he has a few big strikes in him. If you can't get them off, then the fight, it just looks dirty, it looks smelly, it looks filthy. This is how I see this fight going. I think this is going to be a staring match. I think that it's going to look ugly for 3 rounds, and then it's just flipping a coin who you think is the tougher guy, and is the better guy at this time. And the pick is going to be Sam Alvey. I think that Rashad is pretty much done. I would like to see Rashad win, in all honesty. If you would have told me like 5 years ago that Rashad Evans is going to lose to Sam Alvey and someone like Dan Kelly, I would have told you to fuck off. I would have told you to run to the hills. There's no way that's happening. But this sport is tough, this sport is brutal, and eventually it catches up with you. I just think that Sam Alvey can maybe control Rashad against the fence, use the dirty boxing, try and strike with him at range, but he needs to be careful because Rashad still has that little bit of speed on him. So 29-28, close, filthy, ugly fight for Sam Alvey, but I'm not confident in the pick whatsoever. Martin Bravo against Humberto Bandenay. Bandenay didn't really impress me in the tape that I watched, but I have to be careful with what I'm saying because I said that with Junior Albini a few weeks ago and he came out and absolutely starched Tim Johnson. Now I think Johnson had an injury, which sucks because if you knew that before time you maybe lean towards Albini, but what I seen with Bandenay, not great. He's just a solid kind of guy, nothing stands out too much. Martin Bravo in his fight with Claudio Perez, liked how he attacked the body, liked how he mixed it up a little bit with his low kicks and so on. But I say this is a fight that I haven't really taken too much stock into. I don't really care too much for it. I only watched I think I watched 2 fights of Bandenay. I watched 2 fights of Bravo. I think that Bravo definitely, I think he is young in the game, so he can maybe move forward and progress and advance his skill sets a little bit. But I did like the way, I must admit, I did like the way he attacked the body against Perez and got that second round TKO finish. I like him in this one. I think he can get a finish over Bandenay. Bandenay's tough, but I think that Bravo's just a little bit better at this time than Bandenay. I'm going to pick Bravo via a TKO in round, probably going to go in round number 1. I think he's going to catch him with a few nice shots and put him down. If not, I can see the round number 2. Welterweight division with Alan Jouban against Niko Price. Solid fight to put together, quite a hard one. I've seen people say different things, have different reads on the fight. I'm going to go with Alan Jouban. I think that Price is big guy, he's a big, bulky guy, and he's impressed, I think, in his 2 UFC fights. The thing is with picking Jouban, which I'm worried about, is he at the door ready to kind of walk away? I think that he's probably fought the biggest fight he's ever going to fight in against a Gunnar Nelson, a Mike Perry. So he's going to be fighting these guys kind of in the middle of the road at welterweight, the newcomers that have had two or three fights in the UFC. I think that Jouban on the feet, I think he'll want to fight like he did against Mike Perry, try and hit and keep away from Niko Price, but that's a hard thing to keep up in Mexico at elevation. So it's a tough fight to call because Price, I think, is going to be looking for takedowns. Coming off that win over Alex Moreno, which got turned to a no contest because he popped for something, and the submission victory over Brandon Thatch. I think that Price is going to be looking to put this against the cage and take Alan Jouban down, and from there it's just interesting to see if he can get Jouban down. Jouban, to be fair, has a fairly decent ground game for this level. I think the level that he's fighting at, like a Niko Price, I think he is the better guy in that aspect. It's not only a confident pick. I know Price is the underdog because I've seen a few people bet him. I think my boy Emily Kelton's bet him as well. And he was a guy I did look at, but I just feel more, when I was watching the tape, I felt more confident in Alan Jouban. I think the experience will play a part, especially in a place like Mexico, where if he can look after his gas tank and stay active through that fight, through the rounds, I think he does enough to win them. So I'm going to go 29-28 decision for Alan Jouban. Co-main event, we have Randa Markos against Alexa Grasso. I like Alexa Grasso. I am a fan of hers, and I think that's, in her last 2 fights in the UFC, that's came back to bite me in the ass a little bit. I think the fanboy in me maybe overlooked someone like a Felice Herrig and so on, but I mean, she's did I say she's coming off 2 losses? No, she beat Heather Jo Clark, but she lost to, I didn't think she looked good against Heather Jo Clark, in all honesty, but I didn't think she looked great against Felice Herrig. Herrig just kind of big sister in that fight there and won that fight. Randa Markos, I didn't think she beat Carla Esparza, in my opinion, in her last fight. I thought it was close. I thought there was a chance, but I think anywhere outside of Canada, she does not win that fight, in my opinion. Alexa Grasso, she is the far more technical striker. Randa Markos gets hit a lot. And against someone like Alexa Grasso, who's a lot output as well, I think she's going to find that nose that everybody seems to find on on Randa Markos and really put a beating on her. I think that Markos will get a hold of her. Don't think she'll get her down. I think Grasso can beat her up in the clinch and just outwork her there, hit her with the elbows, disengage, and then I can see her putting Markos against the cage and unloading her on Randa Markos. I could see Alexa Grasso finishing this fight, but in ladies' fights, they very rarely finish early or so on. Potentially the output of Alexa Grasso could come back late in the fight to stop it. Not overly confident in she can do that, but I like her to win via decision. Pick's going to be Alexa Grasso. It's going to be, I think she's going to just the output of her is going to really put Randa Markos in the back foot, and I think she's going to get beat up in this fight. But Randa Markos makes fights close, so you never know. Pick's going to be Alexa Grasso. I think fighting at home, she's going to have that added pep in her step. 30-27 victory there for Alexa Grasso. The main event of the night, Sergio Pettis against Brandon Moreno. Really interesting fight when you start looking into it with fights, the previous fights of these guys. As you all know, I'm a massive fan of the Pettis brothers. I'm a huge fan of those guys. So coming into this one, originally I was like, I like Sergio Pettis. That's just going off the gut feeling. When I watched the tape, I think that Sergio Pettis is making all the right adjustments in his career at the minute. Having that early loss to Ryan Benoit, he was winning that fight in all honesty and got caught, and it happens. Since then he's learned and he's kind of come full circle. He's looking better every fight. I think on his feet he's looking more and more technical every time we see him. And I thought against John Moraga he did a really fine job in that one. Really picked and popped from the outside, put Moraga down, and just looked the best I think he's ever looked. I thought he looked good against Chris Kalades at 197, but he's getting an opponent here in Brandon Moreno, who this kid's fun to watch. I mean, we watched him in the Tough Show and he lost to Alexandre Pantoja, who did break him in that fight, no doubt about it. That was maybe too early a fight. Pantoja is really tough and a really underrated guy in that 125 division. But since then, Louis Smolka, Ryan Benoit, and then he stopped Dustin Ortiz, which I think is a huge feather in his cap. Not too many people stop Dustin Ortiz, who is known to be a really tough guy to face and a tough fighter. Probably lost that first round, but hit him with a huge high kick in the second round, and from there got the back of Dustin Ortiz, worked different positions, but eventually just never gave up in the choke, and he caught a nasty choke. This kid's got a nasty squeeze on him. It's something he doesn't have to get the full choke in for you to tap out, but he caught Dustin Ortiz and put him to sleep in that one, made him tap. In fact, I don't even think he did tap. I think the ref pulled him off him. So that's somewhere where I think if this fight goes, he could have the advantage. Now on the feet, it's your more technical fighter against your kind of wild output of Brandon Moreno, who'll throw a lot of funky shit, a lot of high kicks, be very aggressive. He does get hit, he does get some shots put in the end of his chin, but he's tough enough to kind of take those shots, and I don't think that Sergio Pettis has got that one punch power that's going to really put him down. So I think that's something that he can be. I think actually he has the more power than what Sergio Pettis has. I think he's maybe the bigger guy. I looked at the kind of reach and the statistics earlier on, but the interesting thing with this one, I think that John Moraga did take Sergio Pettis down in that fight, but there was a couple of occasions where Sergio had the guillotine and kind of dropped to his back as well, which the MMA Genius actually pointed out to me last night. I went back and watched it. I thought it was actually takedowns. Moraga got one, but the other two takedowns were actually from a guillotine choke that he did. He kind of fell to the ground with. Where I see this fight going, I think on the feet, I think Pettis is just going to be too slick, too technical. But I think Moreno can hit him. I think that I think once he starts getting off in Sergio, that he might have more and more, his confidence will start to rise and he could potentially get him to the ground. If this goes to the ground, this is where I'm seeing Moreno having an advantage. I think on top, he's very heavy and he is very hard to really get off you. I think if he can do that to Dustin Ortiz, he can definitely do that to Sergio Pettis. And in doing that, I think eventually, I think this is going to be a really fun fight. Actually, I think it's going to be, a lot of people are shitting in this main event. I think it's going to be a really fine main event. You've got the technical fighter against your kind of wild guy, fighting at home for the first time in 5 years. So this is a homecoming for Brandon Moreno. Really tough fight for me to pick. The pick is going to be Brandon Moreno. Wanted to pick Perez. Very surprised that he is the underdog in this fight. I thought it should be pretty much a pick 'em, but I think that Sergio Pettis is plus 145, plus 150. I see somewhere. Those odds are off. So I see a few people betting Sergio Pettis. I don't think it's a very close fight, but I just think I see Brandon Moreno getting this fight to the ground at some point and riding on Sergio Pettis and eventually finding a submission. So I'm going to go a third or fourth round submission victory for Brandon Moreno, and that's really actually I hope that Sergio wins, because I am a fan. I'm not going to deny it. I am a fan of the Pettis brothers, but just looking at the matchup, I think Moreno, if he catches him with something or he gets a takedown, I think he could ride him out on the ground and potentially find a submission. Kid's really, really, really good on the ground, underrated on the ground, I think. But he's going to come more into as the fight as more fights he has in the UFC. But he's moving up into the upper echelons of that division, which is not seen much up there. But want Sergio to win. I'm actually pretty confident in Brandon Moreno for some reason. I like him to win via submission. So that's my picks here for UFC Fight Night 114 from Mexico City. We have 1 month off, which actually in the past I've been a little bit we're off for a month, I haven't got any predictions to do. I'm actually really looking forward to taking a few weeks off, then start watching fights for UFC Rotterdam in early September. Of course, we have McGregor Mayweather at the end of the month, which I've not really been into that much, but I guarantee the closer it gets, I'll get more intrigued by it. But again, the MMA Huddle, guys, is going to be my new podcast with my buddy John. If you can come and support us, it'd be greatly appreciated. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on all our social media, and maybe give us some input what you guys would like to hear. Basically, it's going to be like I do here, maybe not so much. I'm going to give, people have been asking, am I going to get rid of my YouTube channel? No way, this is my baby. I built this 5 years ago and I built it up where you guys have supported me. I'm not going to just leave it for a new venture. It's not going to happen, but we're going to recap the previous week's UFC or Bellator or whatever it may be, Cage Warriors, and then look ahead to because there is a big run into the end of the year for the UFC. So come and support us there at MMA Huddle. You can follow me on Twitter, Will Martin MMA. If you want to play DraftKings, it's BillBar85. And yeah, looking forward to this little break. Enjoy the card when this comes around this Saturday night, and take care. All the best, and as always, thank you for your support. I really do appreciate it.